Chapter 3. East pulled into the driveway after hanging out with his best friends Jeff and Peyton. They spent about an hour after school ended just shooting the shit in the parking lot. Rusty was with them for a little bit, but she had to leave. She promised she'd call him later. It was later and no call. But East wasn't bothered. She didn't give a specific time, just later. He stepped inside where he was immediately greeted by his dogs, Spazzy and Coco. Spazzy was a black husky pit bull mix with white spots, along with one blue eye and one green eye. Coco was an Australian shepherd with brown eyes and a red bandana. They both greeted him with excitement as he knelt down to pet them and give them kisses. East put his backpack on the table and opened the freezer to give the dogs their bones that his mom had put in there early in the morning. As had been done dozens of times before, Spazzy and Coco jumped onto the couch in the living room and awaited their treats. He gave each of them their bones, then returned to the kitchen to get himself something to eat. He opened the refrigerator door and sifted through the contents to find something interesting. The first thing he grabbed was a glass Bud Light bottle. He didn't drink. Not yet, anyway. He just needed to move it to get a look at what was in the back. As he pulled the bottle towards him, he felt a sudden need to look at it. East wasn't sure why. However, he didn't question it. He looked at the dark glass bottle. The condensation dripped as the room temperature kicked in. All he saw was the silhouette of his own face as the kitchen light shined on it. Nothing out of the ordinary, until East took a closer look. Another person with their hand raised stood behind him. Fuck! East didn't get the chance to get a good look at it. All he saw was green and brown before something swung in his direction. Blackout. East! East, wake up, bro! Joey's voice and Coco's tongue brought East back to consciousness. Sitting up, he almost bumped his head on the refrigerator door. What the fuck? He rubbed the side of his head where he felt a small lump. Joey, what happened? Joey shut the door and helped his cousin to a nearby chair. You tell me, man. You're the one who's lying on the floor. East tried to think. Shit, I don't... He suddenly remembered what happened. He shot up and ran to the back door. It was open with the screen door busted like someone fell through it. Fucker got away. What are you talking about? Joey asked. It must have snuck in from the back door and tried to get me from behind. It kicked me in the face before I got a good look at it. Where'd he go? Joey asked. East looked down at Coco. Though she was smiling, it was obvious she got into a fight of some kind. Her fur was dirty. Her teeth and lips were covered in this green substance. He knelt down to get a closer look. What happened, girl? Coco didn't say anything. She just looked at him with her beautiful yet empty gaze. She gave a slight whimper, which was answered by Spazzy's loud barks, coming from outside. East and Joey looked at the back and saw the dog running at full speed through the broken screen, and almost on top of East. He didn't lick him like Coco. Instead, he just sniffed him to check if he was all right. Hey, buddy. Yeah, I'm all right. He noticed that just like Coco, Spazzy had green substance on his lips and teeth. East looked at Coco, then back at Spazzy, putting the pieces together. Did you chase after the mean man for me? He looked at Joey. Was he here when you got back from work? Joey shrugged. I didn't see him. Just saw Coco lying next to you. I didn't even bother looking around. I just called the police and... The realization hit him. Oh, shit! He rushed his phone on the table and placed it to his ear. You still there? Sorry, he just woke up. Joey looked into the living room as he and East started to hear sirens. Yep, I see them. Thanks. Joey hung up the phone. You called the police? East asked. Sorry, dude, I panicked. I thought you were dead. No worries, I appreciate it. He looked down at his dogs. And I appreciate you two for saving my ass. The police and paramedics arrived, given that Joey wasn't able to explain the situation on the phone. It was the typical circus. Paramedics checked East for a concussion, while the police got a statement and checked the area. In this case, however, they were met by Chief Carl Peters, a large and muscular black man in his late 40s with a shaved head and a thick mustache, and Deputy Jerry Lane, who was a white man in his late 30s with black hair and a slimmer build, but still muscular, from Peterson. East knew both of them very well. He always thought that they looked like actors Ving Rhames and Carl Urban, respectively. So this man, You said he broke in from the back door and tried to attack you, Jerry asked, pen and paper in hand. Yeah, East said. What was he wearing? Carl asked. Couldn't tell. That shit happened so fast. But I think he was wearing one of those hunting outfits. You know, the ones that make you look like a shrub bush? A ghillie suit? Yeah, that. Or maybe he was covered in mud because when my dogs attacked him, they had this green shit all over them. Jerry knelt down to examine Coco, who stayed by East's side the entire time. There was enough of the green substance still there to take a sample. We can check this out in the lab, he said. But where's your other dog? Carl asked. On cue, Spazzy came running inside from the backyard, followed by two more officers. We scanned the area, one of the officers said. Tracks go past the back fence a few feet. Then they just stop. No sign of forced entry, the other officer said. Only when the guy tried to get away. East looked at Joey. That's probably my fault, Joey said. I forgot to lock the back door before going to school. Carl looked at Jerry. Let's take a look. One of the two officers led Carl and Jerry into the backyard, Spazzy in tow. Here's where we saw the tracks, the officer began. Whoever it was came in the same way he ran out. As the officer had said, there were two sets of tracks in the snow, one going toward the house and the other leaving. They reached the back fence where the officer stood back to keep Spazzy from getting out, while Carl and Jerry walked into the woods. Just as the officer said, the track stopped at 5 feet. What is that, a hoof? Jerry asked as he crouched down to investigate. The right footprint looked normal, but the left resembled that of a hoof. Carl looked back at the house, then into the woods. Give me your thoughts, Jerry. What do you think happened? Jerry took a breath. For whatever reason, this guy came in from here, opened the back door, and snuck behind East. East fought back. This guy knocked him out. The dogs step in. They put up enough of a fight to drive him back. He gets back into the woods, and he stopped and looked up at the trees. You think he climbed a tree? Carl asked. Makes sense, but not with these trees, Jerry answered, sliding his hand along the smooth bark of an American beech. And you'd think there'd be tracks from where he stepped out of the woods, but there isn't any. Another thing, how does someone get the drop on East Miller? Carl mentioned. Kid strong as an ox, has a black belt and can box better than Mike Tyson in his prime. Jerry looked back at the hoof. Ever been kicked by a horse? Carl sighed. Let's go back inside. They went back inside the house. Everyone was still there, waiting for them to return. It seemed the paramedics were packed up and ready to leave. Everything good? East asked. Jerry looked at Carl, almost as if to try and read what he was thinking. Is there anyone who would want to hurt you? Carl asked. Someone you maybe pissed off recently? Where do we begin? Joey asked. East gave him a look. Dude, sorry. But you do have a point, East said. Earlier today I got into a fight with some kids at school. They were harassing a little girl. I tried to stop them. They tried to throw hands. That the official story? Jerry asked. Carl looked at his deputy with a disapproving glare. The other two officers looked at them in confusion. What's that mean? One asked. Nothing, Jerry backtracked. Just a bad joke. Who were these kids? Carl asked. East thought for a second. It was Patrick Murphy, Daniel Romans, and Eric Snyder. Jerry wrote down the names. We'll check them out. You should probably let your parents know about this. I already sent my mom a text. The paramedics made their way to the door once they were sure everything was all right. Before they even reached the doorknob, Rusty burst through the door. She stopped only for a moment when she saw East, then ran straight for him. Oh my God, baby! She wrapped her arms around him. Are you all right? East wrapped one arm around her waist and rested his head on her shoulder. I'm fine, Rusty. I called you 5 times. I didn't know what was going on. I got my ass kicked, East said. We have an idea on who it could be, Jerry said. It was probably Patrick and his friends. That's what we're thinking, Carl said. One of the paramedics approached them, more specifically Rusty. Excuse me, ma'am, but your car is blocking the way. Rusty jumped up. Oh my God, I'm so sorry, I'll move it. She looked at East. I'm going to stay here until your parents get home, is that alright? East nodded. Okay, I'll be right back. Rusty moved her car and the paramedics pulled away. Following them were the first two officers to arrive on the scene. Carl and Jerry were the last to leave. What do you think? Jerry asked. Think it was one of those kids East told us about? Too many loose ends. I can get wanting to retaliate, but from the sounds of it, none of them would have done so without the other two joining them. Even if one kid broke in, what's the point of wearing a ghillie suit? And what the hell is with the hoof? Another thing too, Chief, Jerry added. Whoever it was didn't have any shoes. They were walking barefoot in that snow. Carl thought about this. It didn't look good. Like he said, too many loose ends. That didn't mean they were going to disregard Patrick and his friends. It was still a possibility after all. Let's look into those boys East talked about. We'll go from there. What about the sample? Let forensics deal with that. They pulled the car out of the driveway and drove off. Hey, that story East told us about the boys. You think that's how it really happened? Or was it a cover by the principal? Jerry asked. Probably both, Carl said. God knows we've had to make our own cover stories for that kid.